Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with the Druki, gonna be facing up against the vampires. Definitely in for a very fun battle. Let's go ahead and jump straight to the army compositions. My forces are going to be led by a Dread Lady here. Decided to go a little bit cheaper on the Lord option rather than bringing Malekith. I've just got the Dread Lady down on her Cold One here. The reason being is that the vampires can actually bring a very scary air force, and I didn't want to have to go on a dragon. I also wanted to try out Lore of Fire in this matchup, so rather than bringing Malekith, I've just brought the cheaper Dread Lady and a Sorceress Lore of Fire. So I've got Flaming Sword of Ruin, Cascading Fire Cloak, and the Burning Head. Burning Head's great for burning through large amounts of chaff units. Flaming Sword of Ruin is going to be great versus any ethereal or regenerating units, which the vampires, of course, have plenty of. And Cascading Fire Cloak is just a nice, support buff in a lot of different situations. Gives armor piercing and melee defense, both of which are very useful. In terms of infantry, we've got a front line of Black Ark Corsairs. These guys will do a good job of cutting through most infantry that the vampires can throw at you. They'll struggle a little bit with Graveguard, but even then they've got the combat stats to somewhat hold up in that fight, especially with that anti-infantry bonus. We've got two Dread Spears, one on each flank, kind of protecting the wings. We've also got 2 units of Witch Elves. Of course, for the lockdown, it looks like maybe actually 4 Dread Spears. Yeah, 4 Dread Spears, 2 Witch Elves, and a Black Art of Naggarond to act as the anchor here in the center. We've also got 2 units of the Lizard Limos. These guys, of course, have the heavy armor piercing damage. They've got a decent anti-infantry and charge bonus. Good at, running through infantry units, and that armor piercing missile attack is great at poking away at large targets. Any armored unit going to be very good against. We also have 1 unit of Dark Riders with repeater crossbows just for some additional armor-piercing missiles, and since the vampires can summon tons of zombies and potentially muck up missile infantry, I like to bring the Dark Riders here rather than the Dark Shards. That's about it for my build. My opponent has brought Isabella von Karstein, so it's been a minute since we've seen Lady Karstein out and about. Of course, let's go ahead and look at her abilities. She's a very powerful vampire lord, of course, having access to lore of vampires. Invocation of Nehek, she's also carrying Dance Macabre, which is a great support buff, especially when you consider that most vampire units have somewhat poor melee attack, and Raise Dead, so all very good stuff. She's also got Curse of Years, so basically, if you combine Curse of Years with Dance Macabre, self-buff with Dance Macabre, and debuff your opponent with Curse of Years, essentially you can pretty much catch anyone, especially with how fast the Hellsteed is for Isabella. Looks like she's also got her Blood Chalice, which gives her a big burst of self-healing and vigor, as well as Master of Beguilement, which gives her, wow, minus 44 melee attack. Holy cow, that's very powerful. As well as Red Fury, so good stuff. She's also carrying 2 Terrorgeists. So the Terrorgeists are a very strong unit right now. Poison, decent melee defense, anti-large, armor piercing, and of course Fear and Terror. And they do have that nice Death Shriek breath attack as well, which is good against large single model entities. So 2 Terrorgeists is quite a bit of air power, and this is one of the reasons why I don't usually like to go in the air up against the vampires, because with 2 Terrorgeists they can pretty much tear down any flying lord. So we've got also some Fellbats here. The infantry corps is going to be 3 zombies, backed up by the Sternsmen and 2 other units of Graveguard, with 2 Crypt Ghouls and the Tithe. So the Tithe are here in the rear just to kind of muck things up. There's also a Necromancer on a corpse cart. I'm assuming this is the Unholy Lodestone. Yep, so it's got that mass regeneration, as well as having the Vigor Mortis buff. Of course, the Necromancer also comes with the Master of the Dead, giving another regeneration buff, and it looks like he's carrying Invocation and Raise Dead, just in case Lady Karstein's out of range, then he can help support this infantry engagement. So I really like this build for my opponent. It's got a lot of good tools, so let's see how he does with it. Right off the bat, I'm going to be just poking away with these armor-piercing missiles onto the Terrorgeist and Lady Karstein here. They're going to give chase, but we are going to have to retreat back through the woods here. Lady Karstein now is going to be dropping that Curse of Years, so that's actually going to debuff the speed of these Dark Riders quite a bit. However, that's a relatively expensive spell to be using on a unit that's, granted, these guys are 650. They're not super cheap, but the Zombie Summon coming a little late and out of position there. The Zombie Summon actually has a much longer cast time than it used to, and the zombies take a bit of time to come out of the ground, so you want to maybe time that a little bit differently, maybe try summoning them out in front of the unit rather. But regardless, we're going to be doing the same thing over on this other side, just using this armor-piercing missiles of the Cold One Chariot here to kind of poke away at the Terrorgeist. Did get a death shriek into these Dread Spears, but didn't do a whole lot. But definitely don't want to be in combat with the Terrorgeist, so I'm going to have to pull away here. The bats don't have the mass to really stop my chariots, so I can kind of just pull away at will there. We're going to get a little bit of a skirmish phase here, so we'll fast forward for just a minute while we kind of work through this skirmish phase a little bit. You can see my chariots just kind of moving around and poking away at these high-value single model entities. The Terrorgeists have a lot of health, and very likely I'm going to have to work through all of their healing cap to be able to take them down. So, saying that my opponent doesn't have any mobility over here, I'm just going to get a quick charge with these lizard limos and then dive immediately out. We're able to do about half HP, or not a half, maybe a third HP damage on these crypt ghouls, which is really nice. However, I'm going to potentially take some damage from that Terrorgeist, so nothing's free. But as we pull away, these guys should actually use their armor-piercing crossbows. Yeah, you can see him aiming there. I'm not sure if he's actually going to fire, but they should be shooting that as they pull away there. Meanwhile, over on this other side, that summon unit of zombies is shambling up the hill to be killed by these Dread Spears. They're going to have a relatively easy time cutting through a unit of zombies here. Is this actually, yeah, they are degenerating, okay. So, just smashing through them with a chariot once again. Over on this other side, though, we've got the Dark Riders kind of in a support position here. We've been able to do some okay damage up against the Terrorgeists, but not as much as I would have liked. That's okay. We're just going to pull back and kind of resecure here and in position with all these infantry. My opponent knows if he dives down here, these Witch Elves can potentially counterattack and lock him down on the ground, and that's definitely going to be a rough time considering all the Dread Spears and these Blackguard here in the center. So basically the idea is if he lands with one of his high value units, I can then, either peel off this way or this way to get whatever's locked down by the Witch Elves. That being said, it's going to be relatively hard if he brings, both the Terrorgeists down on either flank at the same time. The Blackguard's going to have to pick one way or the other. They can't be in both places at the same time, which means I'm going to be relying on these lower tier Dread Spears to kind of hold the line in that event. So, nothing so far, though. My opponent's doing a very good job being patient here, getting a little bit overzealous. Might lose these Crypt Ghouls over here, but considering how cheap of a unit they are, it's not the biggest loss in the world. The bigger loss would definitely be this Terrorgeist, so my opponent doing very wisely pulling away here. The Witch Elves are going to get caught up on these zombies, and the Terrorgeist, though, at the last second gets enraged and turns around here, so he's going to have to be careful. He's going to take potentially quite a bit of damage here. You can see already down to about half HP there. And yeah, so far so good. We are going to be getting the charge orders off on these Black Ark Corsairs to charge into some of these fodder units here in the front line. So we'll grab some of the cinematic action as these guys get a nice little downhill charge here. Not too much of a slope, but of course they are fighting against significantly inferior troops for the most part. So they'll definitely do a good job of cutting through there. We are going to be dropping a Flaming Sword of Ruin over on this flank here. So what that's going to do is give all these guys flaming and magic damage. Of course, the Terrorgeist is weak to fire, having the traditional regeneration trait, which gives weakness to fire. If I can mouse over it here, I might not be able to do due to the chaos of battle, but it also does affect missile units as well. So this Dark Rider with repeater crossbows actually has flaming missiles right now, meaning it's going to be doing quite a bit of damage. Really nice burning head coming down the line here, going to be roasting tons of these skeletons and zombies. Probably did a little bit of friendly fire there, friendly fire, but no big deal. We were able to roast this one group pretty effectively, did a little bit of damage to the other group, but definitely could have been a little better. That being said, Lady Karstein has come down onto these Dark Riders, which is pretty decent. Curse of Years being used to debuff the melee attack of this entire pocket here, which is very nice. You can see the Cold One Chariots actually getting terrified away there. They've been able to do a decent amount of damage, but now it's up to these Dread Spears to kind of hold out here. Lady Karstein is going to have to be careful, though, because now that she's on the ground over here and both of the Terrorgeists are kind of concentrated over on this side, I can feel safe in pulling my Blackguard over onto this flank over here, and we're going to do that very shortly. It's really dangerous diving all three of these high-value units in on these Witch Elves here. If they proc that Madness of Cain, it's going to be a really bad situation, especially with these Blackguard coming in there. You can see the Firecaster in the distance going to be dropping another Flaming Sword of Ruin here, so the flaming anti-large damage from those halberds is going to be nasty. Here comes the Dread Lady as well, charging through the ranks here. She has taken quite a bit of damage from repeated cycle charges from the Terrorgeist. She's having to be very, very careful here, but she does do quite a bit of armor-piercing damage, especially with the buffs she has popped. So the Hydra Blade, as well as the Deadly Onslaught, gives her a massive amount of weapon strength. But we are going to have to be very careful. She's lost a lot of health, and, we're a little bit behind on the balance of power at this point. There's a lot of fodder units still on the field, but this pocket here, we should be able to grind these guys down. Here in the center, we're grinding down some fodder infantry as well. The terror guys are still a major issue, though, so seeing that my caster's getting charged here, we self-buff with that cascading fire clothes to give her better melee defense, and we're going to be just kind of running around with this Dreadlord. I didn't really want to come engage on 2 terror guys here, so we're going to be pulling back. I honestly probably should have pulled back through this infantry here, but I'm going to do a hard cut back over towards this side, trying to get on top of this Blackguard, which is currently inundating Lady Karstein here. She's definitely taking a lot of damage in this battle and does not want to be probably fighting these Blackguard directly. You can see her 2 fluffy kitties here. The 2 terror guys are coming through. They're really, really mad about life, and they're going to kill my Dread Lady just right out. Just absolutely killed her. So rough stuff for me. However, these Blackguard are immune to psychology, so they're not too worried about the terror from the terror guys here. And you can see the 1 terror guys is already at its healing cap, so any damage that we do to it, it's going to be relatively honest. It won't be able to heal too much of that back. So unfortunately, this unit of Dread Spear is getting terrified away, but this unit of Dread Spear is holding very admirably, got 41 kills on chaff units, and now that the Black Ark Corsairs have cleaned up things in the center pocket, we're going to be able to path them back kind of on this horde of fodder troops here, and you can see quickly the infantry battle is turning against my opponent, and the battle's power started to flip back in my favor. We've still got these Dark Riders with the repeater crossbows on station firing away. This other unit of Cold One Chariots is still relatively healthy as well. They're getting hit by the Flaming Sword of Ruin right now, which means, or they were at least, which means those repeater crossbows that they carry were actually doing flaming damage, which is going to be very good against the terror guys here. But you can see the 1 terror guy is at its healing cap, the other one still got quite a ways to go, so it's going to be dangerous, though. I definitely need to try and keep this Fire Sorceress alive, of course. Being a heroic unit, she does have that in courage, and right now is kind of holding the leadership of my troops together. You can see as her leadership starts to tank, the balance of power starts to flip back in my opponent's favor, and we're getting a mass terror rout here, which is a big, big problem. The Blackguard are the only ones holding the line currently. Being immune to psychology, you know, they're not obviously going to rout off in the face of terror. Those Black Ark Corsairs and the Witch Elves. Witch Elves have Frenzy, so, I mean, obviously they'll be immune to psychology while they're frenzied. But, you know, once that frenzy drops, they can be terror routed off. So a lot of these Black Ark Corsairs are going to struggle to come back, you know, and fight in this battle without just all their numbers, you know, surrounding these Witch Elves. Or, surrounding the Witch Elves. Surrounding the terror guys here. But Lady Karstein's also taken an immense amount of damage. She has you know, use that Blood Chalice of Bathory to put herself back up to her healing cap. But again, she's at her healing cap now. We're starting to work through this other Terrorgeist. He's ever so slightly inching his way towards his healing cap. And this Necromancer, you'd imagine these guys are pretty close to out of magic at this point, so it's really not worth me trying to spend time and resources killing this guy. I'm really just trying to clear out the rest of the zombie units here, so we're free to focus on Lady Karstein and her Terrorgeist. So you can see them absolutely terrorizing my infantry here. We are still poking away with that Cold One Chariot. The armor-piercing missiles are coming in super clutch in the late game, just continuously poking away at Lady Karstein, and they do a solid amount of damage. So as she kind of flies around this pocket, she's going to just continually get poked by that Cold One Chariot, and the thankfully the Sorceress of Fire did come back from routing. I've got her just chilling in the woods right here, you know, a bit of cover in that dense forest there, and you can see the Blackguard just continuing to hold out. They're kind of soaked in this pocket of this death blob of Druchii infantry here, and if the terror guys take off in the air, you know, and don't want to come fight on the ground, that's fine. This corpse card is too slow, unfortunately, but you can see that they're trying to dive in here into some of these rear echelon troops, but it's very, very dangerous for you know, Lady Karstein to do so, because now that she's been hit by those the Witch Elves, it's all over. She's gonna get completely surrounded by infantry here. She's enraged, meaning, yeah, she's not you know, she's not able to be microed at all, so yeah, she's gonna get completely surrounded here, and although it will take these non-armor piercing units a minute to work through her, she is going to go down here. You can see, though, the balance of power is very, very heavily in my opponent's favor, swinging wildly at this point due to the terror rout, but the Cold One Chariots are currently holding out still. They're relatively healthy. They've used up most of their ammo, so now they're just coming in to do armor-piercing attacks in melee. They're kind of, you can see the Cold Ones that are mounted at the front of the chariot. They're just kind of chomping away at Lady Karstein. And the Blackguard also holding, they're saturated in here. They're a little bit hard to see. You can see their banner there, but yeah, they're in here as well. They're doing that armor-piercing anti-large thing, And yeah, Lady Karstein is going to pretty much be done. She's about 480 hit points, not quite crumbling yet, holding her leadership together somewhat, but a lot of my forces are going to be regrouping now, and you can see the balance of powers flipped back into my favor. Just wild swings on the balance of power at this point, with the terror mechanics and the morale being a huge factor at this point of the battle. But you can see these guys have a little bit of ammo left, a couple volleys each, so they're going to be using that ammo to just continuously poke away. And Lady Karstein is very, very close to going down at this point. We're going to be dropping one last Flaming Sword of Ruin on these Blackguard here to try and finish off these regenerating units. Of course, the Corpse Cart, the Terror Geist all have the traditional regeneration trait, so I believe we've actually taken one Terror Geist down at this point. Lady Karstein's just gone down as well, so now all that remains is this final Terror Geist, and you can see the leadership is quickly crumbling, now probably going to be disintegrating very, very shortly for this Necromancer and the Terror Geist there, so actually not sure where that other Terror Geist went down, but it looks like it's here in the forest underneath this mass of Druchii infantry. And yeah, Blackguard definitely carried the day here. Blackguard are going to be very, very strong in this matchup just because the vampires don't have a ton of answers to them. The Mortis Engine Drain or something like a Fate of Yuna is really going to be the best answer, in my opinion, to something like a Blackguard. Because rear charging them with Terror Geists can work, but since the Blackguard are proper immune to psychology, it's tough for these types of units to win a decisive engagement against them. So you can see with the Terror Geist going down, that is going to be victory for the Druchii. There's just a few summoned zombies here, so yeah, we'll just fast forward as my guys kind of chop through them. But very well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that battle. It was a very close, very fun battle. Some lords and some builds you don't typically get to see, so I figured you guys would be interested to see that. So yeah. In the cat fight between the Dread Lady and, Lady Karstein, the Dread Lady gets absolutely gibbed by Terror Guys, but, Lady Karstein eventually falls. So, in terms of the army breakdown here, those two Terror Guys got a ton of kills, and obviously each one of them racked up 2 chevrons. They definitely paid for themselves. Terror Guys are a really strong unit right now, and the double Terror Geist, totally viable. I definitely see that. For my build, though, the counter to that is this Blackguard of Nagaron. 132 kills, 3 XP chevrons. These guys are absolutely MVPs, super beast mode in this matchup. Dark Riders with repeater crossbows also got some XP chevrons. Didn't get a whole lot of kills, but did a lot of damage to the Terror Geist and Lady Karstein. Same story here with this Cold One Chariot. Managed to rack up an XP chevron doing damage to those high value targets. And, across the line, Blackguard Corsair is doing very well. One of them, 163 kills and an XP chevron, just chopping through fodder. Witch Elves, 192 and 138 kills. You expect that a little bit fighting up against the vampires just because, zombies are definitely a meta-type pick right now, interestingly enough. But yeah, very well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I keep it coming with more Total War Warhammer 2 content every single day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.